Fox 17 News investigates the case of a man sitting on Tennessee's death row for 32 years after being convicted of a double murder in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. There is new evidence raising questions, serious questions, some say, about Gary Sutton's guilt. And as Fox 17 News investigates, Dennis Ferrier shows us, this new investigation was started by one of Sutton's old flames.
A group of lawmakers are getting involved in the case. A brand new witness has come forward, and a key piece of evidence is being questioned by anyone who looks at it.
Carolyn Miller fell in love with a young Gary Sutton a long time ago. His conviction and time ended their relationship. But years later, on a chance phone call, old feelings came up.
When I talked to him, it was just like all these things came rushing back in, and I knew it was just the Gary that I've always known. And so I just started doing research.
Sutton's case had cobwebs, 32 years old, no movement and no money to move it. His brother said the family did everything they could.
Well, I tried to help him all I could, but every time, every door I'd open, it would close. Every door opened and closed. We get lawyers, we spend every dime we had. My daddy spent every dime he had.
Carolyn decided to spend her time and money to try to prove Sutton's innocence. And so she hired Nashville private detective Heather Cohen to reinvestigate the case. Cohen's investigation brought out all kinds of new discovery.
At the root of this whole story, it is a love story. It's a story of a woman that never stopped loving a man who was convicted for a crime that he didn't commit. And so she just set out to prove his innocence, and that's where I come in.
Tommy Griffin was found shot to death near this creek in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. His sister Connie was found burned alive in her car the next county over. But first, Tommy Griffin. Next to his body, 2 shotgun shells, perfectly side by side like a Roman numeral 2. Those shells were linked to shells found at Gary Sutton's uncle's home. It was a big part of the prosecution. But wait, those shotgun shells landed perfectly side by side during a murder? That is so unlikely. People with no connection to the case are asking questions. Longtime Lawrence County Mayor T.R. Williams.
It looked like somebody planted them. They're side by side. I'm an old country boy. I've owned a shotgun. I've shotgun. Shells don't project out of a shotgun and fall side by side. That never happens.
State Senator Paige Wally says there is too much evidence to not reconsider.
I just want to make sure that if we're going to have someone pay that kind of price for a crime, that we ought to darn well be sure they're the ones that did it. And there seems to be enough evidence to me to warrant another look.
State Senator Wally, State Representatives Doggett and Capley, along with County Mayor Williams, wrote a letter to Governor Lee asking for a stay of execution pending a review of the case. This all after a 2-hour meeting with Detective Cohen. In that meeting, they discovered there's a new witness, Tina Hartman, who we found in Kentucky, finally ready to tell her story. What a story. Hartman's throat was cut in a campground shower. This man, Lester Johnson, was charged with attempted murder and aggravated assault. The 2 dead people were witnesses in this case against Lester Johnson.
When Connie and Tommy didn't show, and I could see the alarm on my attorney's faces and the whispering I knew it was even more serious.
Lester Johnson walked from those charges. The 2 witnesses who never testified against him, Tommy Griffin and Connie Branham, were murdered.
He gets out on February the 21st, 1992. That afternoon, Tommy Griffin went missing.
Hartman says her family was also threatened.
They called my grandmother after shooting up her house and burning her barn. They told her, you tell Tina that she's next after Connie and Tommy.
Hartman says she kept all of this a secret because she was afraid for her family.
Gary deserves his life back. He's probably going to be mad that it took me 30 years to do it. But I had a family to protect. And most of those people are dead now. And I feel like it's now or never for Gary.
And keep in mind, Tommy Griffin and Gary Sutton were best friends with no history of conflict. Even the prosecution admitted at trial Gary Sutton did not have a motive. Even further, They admitted they had no evidence against Gary Sutton, that if they tried him by himself, they had no case.
The district attorney stood up and he said, Your Honor, he said, this would be a nightmare if you done that. He said, because if you do, we'll have to let Mr. Sutton go.
2 more key witnesses in that trial say their testimony was manipulated. Yes, we have another story. You'll see that next Monday. I'm Dennis Ferrier, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.